So breaking down your FIN number is pretty much you knowing what is called your final income number for your retirement, right? Knowing what you need for retirement is so important because if you ask the average person today, what do you need for retirement? They have no idea. You know, everybody tells what you need to save for retirement, but no one ever tell you what you need for retirement. So when you break down your FIN, let me show you how you break down your FIN. Two things you need to get established once you go through your FIN number. Number one, you need to know what you need for retirement. And number two, you need to know how much you need to save to reach your retirement needs. So by doing this is when you take the time to start learning what's your now, the later, and the end. So knowing the now, the later, and the end, the now stands for your current age, the later stands for your retirement age, and the end stands for your life expectancy, right? These are what this means. So when you write this down in this very same format, now, later, and the end, right? Now is your current age. Later is your retirement age you want to retire. The end represents the life expectancy. So questions you got to always ask yourself. Number one, how long will you need income during your retirement? Number two, do you have enough time to save for your retirement? Number three, how will your money be taxed when you start to receive it during your retirement? And number four, does working a job alone will give you the lifestyle you want during your retirement? So these are the questions that you always got to ask yourself as you think about your FIN. Now, let's look at some examples. So let's talk about on an average. Did you know that the average person starts saving for retirement at the age of 30 years old? And the average person thinks retiring at 65 with $5,000 coming in every month is good enough money for their retirement years. Did you also know that the life expectancy is 85 years old? The average person lived to around 85 years old. So knowing all of these average and these understanding, imagine if we was to put this in a FIN, right? To help the average person know what they need. So then now will be the 30. That's when the average person start really saving for retirement. Later is 65 where the average person want to retire. The end is the life expectancy that the average person live until. So you got to think about, well, how old are you today? When do you want to retire later? And how long do you want to live in the end later on? So ultimately, the breaking down this whole concept, it all comes back down to the $5,000 that you want coming in every month. So if the average person wants $5,000 coming in every month, you got to think about what do you want coming in during your retirement years at the time that you want to retire. So if the average person wants $5,000 times 12 months, that gives you $60,000 for the year. So the average person saying that they want $60,000 to come in each year to cover their expenses and live the life that they want during their retirement years. But here's what they never knew: how much they need to have saved up by 65 in order to do that. So if the average person lived to 85, from 65 to 85, that is 20 years. So what this person got to add is then do some multiplication. Take 60,000 that they need every year, multiply it by the 20 years from 65 to 85, and that tells you that the average 30-year-old would have to save up $1.2 million by the age of 65 in order to receive $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year for the next 20 years. But the question you got to ask yourself is, what if you live more than 20 years after your retirement? So you always want to plan for more. Now, let's talk about how they plan for what they want to save. Now, this is where you're going to look at where you are now. So the average person is 30 years old. So from now to later, that is 35 years that they have to save. From 30 to 65, they have 35 years to save. So you take what you need, the $1.2 million, you divide it by the amount of years that you have to save, which is 35. And by doing so, that will equal $34,285 a year, or $2,857 a month. That's what the average person have to save in order to be on track to have $1.2 million by 65. Now think about that. How many?